Hi Jonathan, so before I get to a solution, I just wanted to show you the thinking of how I got there. So ignore the fact there's two rails, I'll probably get onto that in a minute, but we've got some clothes hanging off a rail on this back wall, and I think your initial suggestion was to put a gliding basket or drawer on the opposite wall. Now it's a nice wide room, so you would think that would work, but it doesn't actually. You can see here that even with the drawer in the closed position, it's clashing on the closed there, and you know that drawer is going to move outwards to, well, about sort of here, so you know that drawer really isn't going to function on that opposing wall. So let's just, to make the picture a little bit clearer, let's just hide that. And then I tried a drawer on the back wall. Now I always like to try and go for the 600 wide drawer. It's marginally more cost effective than the 450 wide drawer, but as you can see straight away, the 600 wide drawer doesn't fit in that orientation either, so let's hide that. You can now see that we're left with a 450 wide drawer on that wall and in that orientation, and okay, I mean, my model of the shirt is clashing slightly there. In reality that is a very wide shirt, it's not going to do that. So I think that is your best option for orientating gliding components, whether that's baskets or shoes. I think they need to be on that opposite rail so they can move past clothes that are hanging there. So, and you could have a basket on that wall, sorry, the front wall, if you don't have anything here, but let's just get rid of that for the time being, and I want to talk briefly about those hangers. Hide. There are two ways of creating. I don't like, sorry, I'll just rewind a little bit. I don't like providing a shelf and hanging combined at waist height, because you end up losing quite a bit of hanging drop to a shelf that never gets used as a shelf if you have it at that height. So there are two ways of creating just a hanging rail with Elfa. There is this dedicated component, which there's no facility to attach a shelf onto that, or you can use the 300 deep click-in component, which is designed to put shelves and rails on. You just don't put a shelf on it, and instead you cover it with two of the bracket covers. Now there is a difference between the hanging position of this dedicated component and the modified 300mm component. This dedicated component sits much further forward than any of the other Elfa hanging rails. It sits further forward than this 400 deep bracket, and it sits further forward than the 300 deep bracket. So I'm going to suggest that we create our hanging on this back wall with modified 400 or 300 components, not that dedicated component you see there. Let's just get rid of that. So with all that in mind, where have I got to? We've got to concept 2, which shows 450 wide baskets on this wall, and if you want to continue up here with open shelves or basket shelves, you can. There's some open shelves there, and I'll show you a basket shelf another time. And on the opposite wall you've got gliding shoe racks. The excuse me, the 450 wide gliding shoe rack is a relatively cost efficient component. It's quite a nice piece of kit. You could, the gliding components are more expensive than any of the static fixed shelves or rails. So when you look at this price, you will be able to, you know, if you say, okay, well that's too expensive, I want to provide that shoe storage as just flat shelves, and that's going to save you a good amount of money on that design. Similarly on this side, this is what's going to be adding the cost to this design. It's these gliding components, and I'm going to give you a breakdown of that combined assembly there, so you can say, well, okay, if I'm spending X amount per basket, that's too much, I want to do that with flat shelves. Or you might feel that no, that's a great price and I'd like lots of gliding components. So yes, filling up here, you can do that with flat shelves or basket shelves. Don't have gliding baskets above chest height, you won't be able to see or reach into them. Okay, I'm going to send you some screen grabs of this assembly. I'm going to send you a 2D drawing of this assembly, and I'm going to give you some sub-assembly prices to help you figure out how the cost is going to go up or down depending on what you want to do.